I'm sleepy, just like tired one who's standing by, who's actually mutant wolf. I'm sleepy. But you know who's not? It's CT-9904. He's not sleepy. He stays up all night. He's got you in his sights. CT-9904 is an exemplary soldier.
Who could ask for more?
Who could ask for more? More. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, and welcome to Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. Today we're painting up, if you haven't figured it out, CT-9904, otherwise known as Crosshair. Honestly, we can do whatever we want with this miniature. We could keep it traditional, we could keep it canonical, we could do something different. In my head last night, I was kind of thinking like white armor with like black or red accents, or maybe do red armor, like full on, like no redemption arc, spoilers. It's too late for spoilers. The time has passed for that. I don't know. What do you feel? What do you feel, Chatter? Tell me what you. I'm just gonna start getting some paints out and let y'all think about it. You ready to minicam?
You got it.
We can. I mean, we definitely went black Under Armour, so that's because black Under Armour always looks super, super good on clones and stormtroopers. It's a nice neutral color that like gives it. Oh, I already got black on the. Oh no, that's not black. We didn't use black yesterday. This is still the palette from yesterday. Traditional OG style. OG. I like we're using OG for Bad Batch. OG Bad Batch. Black Under Armour always works for clones and storms, so never a bad starting point. I could really see this fella in red though, right? Just especially at this point in his story arc.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the idea of red personally. I know it's not up to me, but that's my vote.
Throw the votes.
So as you were sort of putting together this squad,
The squad was super fun.
Thinking about, obviously we had the Clone Force 99 squad pack as well. What sort of, compare and contrasting did you do when deciding on poses, and how sort of the framing of all the characters in the squad was going to be positioning wise?
Yeah, we knew. So we started looking at like what's in the pack, and the Flame Trooper just really stood out. And I think that was probably Preston got super excited over that Flame Trooper. And we wanted that to be sort of a cool. It's sort of the cool centerpiece in my eyes of the squad pack, right? The Flame Trooper has got this big flamethrower, is standing like super aggressively, right? Then you have the other troopers who are a little more subdued, I guess. Not subdued. They're in traditional military like stancing, and then with Crosshair, it's like you want to capture just that slinky, cool, casual, cold, callous, uncaring, certified curmudgeon. And I think that this pose kind of hits on that. It's just like, dude is just propped up for the shot, right? Just doing the job. Nothing fancy, nothing spectacular, right? CT-9904 doesn't have to prove anything with gymnastics. It's all about the results. It's all about getting the job done. So I think this miniature really captures that part of him to me. We're gonna just blacken this part of the boots. a little glazy, so it's actually going to work in our favor. Toes. It's, capture the good soldiers that follow orders, yeah. CT-9904 will wear the Empire Standard equipment. We must set example for the new recruits. Good point. How can I argue? How can I argue with such valid discussions? Don't think I could. We'll do classic. You know what? Let's do classic with a spin. How do we feel about classic with a spin? A twist.
It seems to be where the heart of the crowd is, so I'm all for it.
That paint was not mixed up proper. I'm gonna reset. I'm gonna start that over because I want this dark warm gray, but it was not shook. I shook it. That came out like water. It was not. It was all the medium, no pigment. Here we go. One more time into the fray. Spin by giving him Death Troop green eyes. I like Death Troop green eyes. Boop, boop, boop. We're going to use dark gray to start our process. I'm going to go as fast as I can. Just as fast as I can. I know y'all here for the speed.
Well, let's talk about that, because yesterday you brought up a really good point about, how long you personally want to spend on getting a miniature table ready. So do you ever set timers for yourself or pay attention to it, or is it so in your bones now that you can sort of sense how long you've spent on something?
It's just in my bones.
It's just there.
It's in my bones. You don't want to go there. His bones are bad. He's got to paint the bones.
Now, come on. We've been through that.
They say when he was a wee lad, the old paint factory down on Main Street blew up and they got in his bones. Look, that's what's going to happen when I retire. Wherever I live, every person around is going to think, that's just the way I talk, because that's how I'm going to talk in front of every single person that's not at
They
home.
say he's never worn pants without paint on them.
Never once has he wore pants without paint on them. They say he has a pair, a secret pair, a sacred pair, a pair of his dating pants. Not a drop of paint in sight, they say. Now, me personally, I've never seen them, but they say he has them.
They do say. Some people say at night you can still hear the water splashing about in his paint cup.
The old splish splash of the paint cup. You hear it. The pitter patter. The word pitter patter said that. The pitter patter.
Pitter patter. You want to know the truth? There hasn't been a painter living in that house for 50 years.
You can't handle the truth. It's so dumb. I love it. The old nor'easter painter. Okay, what were we talking about? Can we go back on track? I don't know what happened. I dozed off for a moment. I woke up and I heard the pitter patter.
Oh boy.
Chat's not finding it amusing. I was like, what? Is this why we came?
They're like, are they okay? Should we send help?
Is this what happens when Dallas streams 2 days in a row?
Dallas, we're almost to pumpkin spice season. It's so close. What has been are you still in your oat milk season, or have you moved on?
Definitely 100%. I have oat milk in my coffee. Even the ladies over at the crepe place, they're just like, "You want oat milk in your coffee?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." They know. What were we talking about? Oh, speed. I do not set a timer.
I'm shocked that you were able to pluck that out of obscurity. But yeah, speed.
Ma'am, I've been buying time until it clicked over. They say the only way to save the painter is by sending him a lobster roll and a good chowder. I do not set a timer for myself. I'm gonna paint today, I swear. Or maybe not. And might pass out. So
I'm all right.
Godspeed
I'm all right.
to us.
Please go on. Save yourself.
Yeah, I'm continuing forth, Ann.
You have to soldier on.
No timer is set for sure, and if I go over, I go over, right? It's nice to have like a little goal, but these aren't the kind of goals I beat myself up over. I have plenty of other goals that I beat myself up over. I don't need this to be one of them, you know? I want to get something painted. I want to get it on the table, and that is the goal. But if I, let's say, I look at Crosshair, right, and I think, okay, this is definitely an hour, maybe hour and a half at the max. If I just would stop talking about lobster rolls and pumpkin spice, I could maybe do it in an hour and a half.
But not pumpkin spice lobster rolls.
Not pumpkin.
Blech. Not a fan.
Nope. I just had to bridge my nose on that one.
Something I've been doing lately is I will choose minis that I have no time limit or like no time awareness on, that I just want to live in for funds.
Yeah.
And then the other ones that I know I want to finish for a particular squad, right? I'll be like, I'll just keep an eye on the clock and be like, have I spent more than 2 hours on this? If so, and I'm fiddling and I'm not like having fun fiddling, then find a stopping point, right?
Yeah, if you find yourself fiddling, you definitely should stop. Or you keep fiddling and you beat that devil.
Why are we so giggly today? Oh my goodness.
So yeah, if you find yourself fiddling, then you need to like check yourself and maybe be like, okay, well I'm just goofing off and I need to focus, as like today. And then but like if I'm like playing Crosshairs and I'm 2 hours in and I'm just having a blast and I still have all these ideas and I still want to do this and I still want to do this, like I just keep going.
Sure.
And then sometimes you get wrapped up and you're just like, well, I just get there. And I get there in like an hour and 10 minutes and I'm just like, huzzah. And then I'm like, I don't need to go more. I might look at the miniature and be like, he's beautiful, he's perfect. And I know, I see the flaws. Like obviously there's flaws because I'm painting for tabletop. But I'm like, huzzah, good enough. Like let's get it on the table. Yeah. Look at the chat. I'm the Johnny. You know what? That's exactly how I would do it. I'd be like, all right, devil, I challenge you to miniature painting. I don't think I would actually. I don't.
That seems like danger.
That seems like danger. I feel like the old devil would be like, oh, bro. I'm like rats.
Would that be like a duel where, like I choose the location, you choose the miniature, or?
Yeah, I definitely I would consider speed painting against the devil. Or I'd be like, challenge him to Dungeons and Dragons and be like, and then I would just throw everything at the wall and just be like, yeah. Did I win? No, you uncover a secret lair of goblins.
Goodness, Dallas.
But I'm level 20. So we're going to use the epic rules.
So we haven't talked about this in a while, but just in case there's anyone new viewing, do you want to talk about your tips for blending when you do have, like a rock, like he's got his foot on, selecting which one of the bases to put it on and how you want to sort of help blend that naturally into the environment?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I've definitely fall under a rock can be any place because, you don't know how things fall. You don't know. Maybe Anakin Skywalker came blasting through here and just knocked it all over. You don't know. Don't tell me where this rock came from. But you can see I use a little ground effects. I love using that stuff to kind of blend something like, this pose that has a little tactical rock, blend it together, and then I use like a little piece of like hobby rock to add even more. Like this just ties this together, right? You're bringing that together. Sometimes taking the pumice and putting it on the ground, it gives it that feeling like maybe, something has fallen over this metal area. Maybe, it's ruinous to some extent, as in, ruins of a building. So, things can be, dirt, rocks, grass can be up on top of. I don't know if anybody knows this. Dirt can accumulate on top of metal and grass will grow there. So you can play with that and really add dimensionality and character to these little story elements on your miniature and really bring them to life in the way you see fit, And also just, I love seeing people play with like different basing stuff, like lava theme, snow theme, right? All that kind of stuff. There's plenty of ways to base your miniature and make them your own, which is, as we always talk, that's the fun part about miniatures is that opportunity to participate in the story aspects and bring them to life in the way you want to, right? You get to participate. You get to say, welcome to my game of Shatterpoint. If I came over to your house and you're just like, this is my Shatterpoint table, I'd be like, I'm in your world. Like, thank you for inviting me to your world. I'm excited to be here. Now, let's play. Hopefully I win. But I don't get too worked up over discrepancies. I just try to tie my bases together and be happy about it. This black is going over to dark gray. So, yeah, it's fun to look at abandoned buildings and see how built elements interact with natural ones. I love taking pictures of that kind of stuff. Busted up construction vehicles, here in Washington we have a lot of little funky logging towns that aren't necessarily logging towns any longer, since that industry's kind of done. There's a lot of little logging towns all over the place, and there's a lot of old time trains sitting around, and it's a lot of fun to go to those little towns and take pictures. I think it's on the way out on Highway 2. I think is where I took the picture. I found like a old busted piece of mining gear that was just at a roadside, like a roadside restaurant and stuff there. to get food one time when I was taking my kid on a little trip, and there was this little mining cart kind of thing, and the way the rust was on it was just, I was just like, oh, I just need reference of that. So I took pictures of it. And like I pull it out every now and then, and I'm like, yeah, look at, oh, this is the way this is, this is the way this. And then I kind of like emulate that upon, upon a miniature. There's so much reference in the world. Looking at buildings, I always tell people to look at cars. Like, especially if you're trying to learn how to paint white, look at a white car. And look how much not white is happening on a car. It's a fascinating amount of not the color white on a white car. And so you can get ideas anywhere. Old buildings, especially like, once again, I live in Seattle, so you can, or anywhere, right? You can find old abandoned buildings right there everywhere. Find old abandoned buildings and see how nature kind of takes over, or find some place where, they're doing demolition and see how the rocks collide or the rubble collides and interacts with the standing structures. Super good reference for your miniatures. And I see a lot of, old school miniature hobby enthusiasts all the time on the Facebooks or social media, and they're posting pictures of the stuff that they find. Then I'm like, so I'm not the only one, right? It's like, if you've been doing this for any amount of time, like you probably have like a little collection of weird building photos in your phone, and it's great reference. Just always be looking for reference. ABLR, that's the word. ABLR. Those are just words to live by. ABLR. Always be looking for reference. I'm happy when my bases tell the same story as my miniature. Yeah, that's always exactly. You just sort of tell that story. Like look at the miniature, look at the base, look at the squad, look at your army, and kind of tell a whole story, right? And it's not that hard. It doesn't take very much, right? It just takes some common themes, or common materials, and it pulls it all together. It's perfect. The Alan Wake of stream of consciousness. Check out implosion videos of raised, purposely exploded for demolition buildings too. Oh yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot of really cool videos of Vegas being demoed in the 80s and 90s. I'm sure you can find cool pictures of that. Do my bases by air as much as I can. My Rebel era stuff is on normal sand. My Clone era stuff is on purple blue sand to match the strange. Oh yeah, that's a cool idea.
That's actually an awesome idea.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. That's fun.
Yeah, telling those stories. I usually pick like, it's weird because like I do different things for different. Man, I just kind of get all over the place. Like it's like my Shatterpoint is all very much the same. I have a Shatterpoint. It's actually in my notes. It's just called Shatterpoint Home Base, and it's just the recipe I use to do Shatterpoint bases for my personal collection of Shatterpoint. And then Legion, I have like 2 or 3, right? Because it depends on the army, because I want the armies to be super distinct. And I think that's because the mix and match style of Shatterpoint, and even Marvel Crisis Protocol, I have the same basing ties for that as well, for everything. Except for that one project, Chick and I did it with each other, where the whole point was to create a themed situation. But that was a special project. But I tend to like armies. I want I want each army to be unique. And then like these games like Shatterpoint where you can kind of build anybody's part of a force. But I guess eras do make sense, but you can mix eras in squad. So I wouldn't do it, but I like the idea myself, or I like the idea. Also, I drilled out the blaster barrel here, just if anybody's taking notes. I totally drilled out my blaster barrel. That's right, I'm one of those. Drill out the barrels, kid. Drill out the barrels. Man, I had an old hobby buddy way back in the day who was teaching me, and I showed up to a game night, and dude was like, pulled me aside after a game. He was just like, "You really need to drill out your barrels." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know, sir. You really need to drill out your barrels." How did I lose that gray black? It's on the palette and the brush is damp, like a little damp. That's it. It's just on a wet palette. You can see the wet palette, I'm sure, and can pop it up if you like. Here, let me show. So there's the black just on the wet palette. That's straight out the bottle. And then like, so it's like that thin, you can see. That's about what I'm working with. And then I'm using a second brush that's damp to blend it out. And I'm purposely I like going fast. If you learn the technique 2-brush blend, you can get to the point where you can create airbrush smooth blends with 2-brush blending. It takes a lot of practice. In the mortal words of Secret 911, I ain't got no time for that. I was gonna say, I ain't got time for that. Kicking in my southern. But I like doing, like for speed painting, I like actually doing wishy-washy, like thin, glazy, imperfect blends, because I think the imperfect blend can lend itself to a more painterly aesthetic, and I like it, and then I actually kind of lean into it and will accentuate it. So I'll use those imperfect blends as places to put like additional highlights. So I actually emphasize my imperfect blends, or those water bubbles, or those they're called bathtub rings. When you blend or wash and you get the little ring, we all know what it is if you've been doing this for any amount of time. You get the bathtub ring. I'll actually accentuate that sometimes. I want to get some color and variation and some visual interest, especially on things like Star Wars characters. They have a lot of big open spaces, so putting some visual interest and color in there is really, really, really attractive to the eye. Yeah, oils on miniatures, you can easily get blends that say, "I am a blend." Yeah, that's exactly it, right? California, I did a quick test mini, like big words screaming to decide on a color scheme and asked for feedback a few years ago. Got 80% comments that the barrel wasn't drilled. Drill the barrel. I'm telling you. This old timey hobbyist guy, he just pulled me aside after a game. It was one of my earliest times playing a miniatures game, and I was just like, "Son, you got drill them barrels." I didn't know. Now I do, and I will always.
Was he personally affronted that you dared to face him without drilled barrels?
He was not affronted because I was getting ready to say, it was a time before everybody was just personally affronted, Anne. Not everything is a personal affront, contrary to popular belief. It was a genuine old old feller concerned for the younger generation. It was like, son, we need to talk. And I was like, sir, yes, sir. I did not slap in the face of his childhood. By not, whoops, that's a chunky blend or line. Let's whip it away, whip it away, whip it away. Drill the barrel feedback is classic American propaganda.
Y'all are making Dallas silly today.
That's an amazing line. Yeah, not the middle of the barrel black. Yeah, Close Encounter of the Codger time. It's like a no shoes, no shirt, no service tone. For a lot of people, non-drill barrels like not cleaning the mold lines. Look, I actually personally do not care what you do with your miniatures. Those are your miniatures. That was your hobby time. You do whatever you please to them, by all means. But, an unclean mold line, woo.
I'm always so afraid of drilling on minis. And I know that that is crazy and I should just practice just like any other hobby skill, right? But I'm always terrified I'm going to like drill wrong and drill through something.
Oh man, you should watch me sometimes. Like, especially like doing conversions. You just have to take a pair of clippers and you just start chopping into the miniature. And you're just like, and this has got to go. Crack, 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 crack. And you're just chopping into the bits. And it's a leap of faith.
The only time I've gotten wickety whack with something like that was on our vehicle project.
Yeah, imagine doing that to just like crosshair here because you want to repose the leg. So you just take a pair of clippers and you just lace them up. Mold line, straight to jail. Straight to jail. Straight to jail. 100% straight to jail mold lines. It's funny because like that's one of the number one things that gets people. So like in painting competitions, that's one of the easiest ways to like not get like a level that you probably would get if you were to clean the mold lines, right? It says painting competition, and like if we want to argue semantics, I'll go upstairs and I'll talk to Pagani. But the reality is, painting the miniature. The first part of painting the miniature is building the miniature, and you can't build a house without a good foundation. And the foundation, a good foundation of painting, is a good built miniature. Now, my tabletop stuff, 100%. I might have a mold line on this crosshair. There probably is, right? It's for tabletop. That's not my goal. My goal is to clean them all. But if there's a little one, but if this is for competition or studio, you cannot have a mold line. It's the quickest way to just be like, well, you did a gold painted paint job or gold level paint job, but you got this mold line, and it just shows. To me, it shows the judge a level of care and professionalism. Is that the right word I want to use without sounding a certain way?
Well, I think the main thing that you're saying is care, and that's what you're showing. It care and technique.
It's intention, yeah.
Right?
Intention is super important, right? If you're going to spend all this time painting a miniature, you gotta spend the time like doing the hobby part, right? I've had people come up to me like, I want to be a studio painter. I want to be a high level studio painter. What do I need to do first? And I'm like, well, then 100% the first thing you need to do is be a good miniature builder. You need to be able to cover mold lines. You need to be able to cover gaps. you need to be able to do some pretty tricky stuff, actually. Like, you know, you need to be, you know, most studio painters don't paint with they paint with like a you know, not a prototype, but like a paint master that's not necessarily the material that, like hard plastic, right? It might be resin, and there might be a bad misalignment, or a something that needs to be slightly resculpted. You have to be able to do that. It takes a lot of hobby skill to be a professional miniature painter. Not saying that there's people out there not making a living, not being good, but I'm just saying that that's what I definitely look for, is like there's a level of intent and professionalism that is super vital to the miniature painting process that sometimes gets overlooked in the conversation. Just gets overlooked in the conversation sometimes. Little scribbles. Yeah, I'm not in your house talking about your mold lines. I mean, I'm dunking on my mold lines, right? I'm dunking on my mold lines. Well, I got chatty and yeah, tournaments can get, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's, if you want to play a tournament, like there's a certain, like, it's a level of expectation that's kind of been built up, I guess. I was painting clones over the weekend, found some poorly clean mold lines while dry brushing. No, that's clones. It's for your tabletop. It's fine. I'm talking very specifically about professional. Like, this is not about tabletop. 100% not. My tabletop stuff has mold lines. That is not what I am talking about. If that wasn't clear. No pumpkin spice, straight to jail. Straight to jail. Don't go halfway. Exactly, never halfway. Never go halfway. 100% professionalism. Yeah, I'm talking about in a very professional context. That's very much the context side. Brandon, after I assemble, I do a light primer, so anything I miss stands out. Great. That is a great way to do it. Very classic, very old school. You can find a lot of very high-end miniature painters that talk about that exact same thing, right? A light dust of primer can show a variety of sins, in the loosest sense of the word, of being like, well, there's the mold line, right? And now you know where it's at and you can get it. Great tip. Love that tip. Did you know more than you did wrong? If you're going to allow tournaments or hobby points, you're looking to win something. Those things would deduct from those points and bring it up. Oh yeah. Kel Fry knows about hobby tournaments, and so that's some good advice. Little zip, little dip, little bing, a little bash, a little highlight there, a little highlight here. Put a little highlight on crosshair. I like that there's a greenness to this color. Paint's super thin and I like it. Just lets me pitter patter about. Game balance? What do I know about game balance?
Yeah, that's more of a question for, you know, Schick or the devs. Like, this is not. This is more focused on hobby, though.
No, I like that somebody thinks I know something about game balance. I want to know what they think I know. What they think I know. What they think I know about game balance, because I want to know what I know about game balance. I'm always the first to go. Make it busted. Make it busted. That's my philosophy. Make it busted.
Yeah, those of us who are not actually in charge of that get asked about characters that the team knows we like, and we're just like, make them the best for all these reasons.
Yeah, I have one meeting with Dev a week, and I'm just there to like do my due diligence as my job title would indicate, and be like, oh yeah, we can totally make that. No, we totally can't make that. Oh, by the way, this character, I think you're nailing the flavor. I like it. I mean, I know our goal is game balance, and game balance it's an imperfect goal. Chick will tell you that. Pagani will tell you that, right? It's like, you know, it's never going to be perfect, but it's you get as close as you can, right? The goal is perfect, you knowing that you can't hit your goal, but you get as close as you can. And balance doesn't mean equity in games. I think that's a big thing, right? Like me having a strength or 5 dice attack on Crosshair, and you not having a 5 dice attack on your what you consider that's not balance, right? Balance is a super holistic. You have to look at and it's not just one. I do know some stuff. It's not just one thing on the whole character sheet, right? You look at a character sheet like, well, their defense is this. That's not good. It's totally trash. It's like there's so much going on. There's so many other layers. There's all the other interactions that one stat is not the thing, right? It's all the stats, and then all the stats of what it wants to work with, and then all the stats within the block of the army, and then all the stats in the block of the game. Like it's so much more than just a single.
Yeah.
You can point at something and be like, that's it, right? And sometimes you're like, oh well, it doesn't feel like he moves very fast. It's like, well, it's not a moving fast thing. It's more of a influence thing, right? So how do you make the character influence the table more, not necessarily be faster? Like sometimes like it's more than just the obvious or what you perceive as what's holding a character back or making it overtuned. It's the other things around it. You need to adjust.
Well, the other thing is like this is by its nature asymmetrical, right?
It's super.
Everybody
it has to be asymmetrical.
That's how these games work. So what you don't want, like you said, you don't want parity, right? You don't want everybody to start with the exact same stats on everything, because then you have nothing, and none of these characters feel.
That's chess.
Like exactly.
That game was created and solved. We solved chess. Chess has been solved.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I know TK said, I just want to be able to overcome, you know, the powerful odds, you know, that you're placed against on the table. But that's the game. That's the fun of it. That's the fun of, you know, these are the people I'm choosing and they give me these opportunities, but how do they answer the questions I'm being asked? You know, that's part of the fun of learning the game and trying new squads and
Miniatures is definitely a puzzle. It's definitely a puzzle, and the game is going to ask you questions. Your squad is going to ask you questions. Your opponent's going to ask you questions. And if you're playing the way we design games, the terrain is going to ask you questions. And those are all questions you have to answer constantly in that conversation with the game. And yeah, that's the fun of it, is like these conversational aspects that the game is asking you to solve, right? If it's just like, if you move up and you roll this dice and you win, that's not a puzzle to solve. There's no puzzle anymore. There's nothing left to solve. You solved it, right? The game should every single time be new and different and exciting and kinetic. And I think TK has something there, like, I want my opponent and I'd have powerful characters. I just want a way to be able to overcome the powerful character. Yeah, there's always a way to overcome the powerful character. There's always a path. Always a path to victory. And sometimes they're not super clear. Sometimes they're not as forward. Sometimes they're not as, brick hammer, right? Maybe it's a more subtle question. Maybe it's a simple positioning. Maybe it's a little denial, right? And some things aren't going to be answerable as easily as others. And that's part of miniature games. That's the fascinating, fun part of the storytelling experience of miniature games, that you and your opponent get to tell this cool story. And, winning is not everything at all. Like, winning is not everything at all. I don't care if I ever win a miniatures game, ever. As long as I feel like I had a fun time and I got to do cool stuff and my opponent walks away with a good time and having done cool stuff. That's more important to me. I'm not in game dev, so I'm not the right person to be asking. We're glazing with a little teal. Got me monologuing. Yeah, Shatterpoint, emergent narrative engine wearing a wargaming hat. You're always telling a story in every wargame. You're telling a little story. I got a friend that comes over and brings some historical games, and it is the most narrative nonsense day, and it's so much fun just being like, here comes the tanks. So much fun. If you're not first, you're last. I'm first at having fun. And I'm having a ball. Wheelies, having a ball. Somebody said green Death Trooper lenses. Miniature war games definitely dictate my life. My whole life is built around miniature war games. But winning miniature war games does not dictate my life. I want to have a cool time telling cool stories with my cool little miniatures and my cool friends. Yeah, the blue-green loses a little glossiness. Not all, but Procryl is matte paint. You can add, there's a gloss varnish. Ta-da. I hear if you just put a few drops in there, in the paint, it brings up that glossiness. You can bring it to satin and then you can bring it to full gloss. So if you're using Pro Acryl, definitely you want to grab and you want something glossy, you definitely want to grab a bottle of that gloss varnish. I think it's going to be what you're looking for there. Side reel. think that's what you're gonna be looking for. So many interesting angles. He looks so good. I love gloss varnish, love acrylic inks, love transparent pigments, love airbrushing magenta. Oh, I love airbrushing magenta. I might have done that this week on a project. Boop, boop. And I'm super love airbrushing magenta and stuff. Looks so good. I don't remember what color this is on my palette. I believe it's just ivory, not bright ivory, just ivory. I just want to do those little pinch highlights. Those final touch highlights in that ivory. That's going to make it all stand out, especially because that ivory has like a little yellow in it, and we put that little teal glaze into the black, and yellow and teal makes it for real. Yeah, look at him. So I know we're almost out of time, but I think we're doing pretty good here. I definitely need a little more highlight on that inner thigh. It's a little bland compared on this viewing angle. Yeah, it's a little bland there, which is fine. We can fix that. We want to finish the blaster and finish the green in the visor. And then the backpack, and then we'll have a CT-9904 all done up, ready for the game. I need a little more shadow on this side of the helmet, actually. I was trying to keep it super light, but I think it needs just a touch of more black. I think I need to turn it upside down to do that shoulder. Such is the way of miniatures. Sometimes you just gotta turn the whole darn thing upside down. That dot's too big, don't like it. That's what that second brush is for. And we're just picking and choosing where we want these highlights. Just kind of thinking about where the natural highlights fall. sleek black look. Yeah, something needs to happen on this inner thigh. It's not working for me. That's what it needed. Just need that rim of the thigh plate to be defined against that black Under Armour, right? And then we need to draw not as bright as we just were doing, but maybe a level down, because the armor plates always have this like sharp ridge across the top of the thigh. Since that's facing up, you want to catch that light. Oh, it's the end of the stream and everybody calm down. Did we get too rambunctious today, chat? Chat's like, what was going on today? Christmas pine scented lobster roll. Gross. And there's a little place around town in this area, Ivar's. They got a killer bowl of clam chowder, and I kind of want some. Just kind of want some. Just dark lining a couple things to make them separate. $5 spot outside Fort Lewis. The levity level was rather enlarged. Nice. Right amount of silly. You're in the chat, chick. They like it silly. You're up on next Tuesday. You better bring the waka waka. Aquadroids next week. I can't say next week, but I would bet we're going to put Aquadroids on the stream. How would we not? Have you seen those things? They're freaking awesome. Little hold your blue and coal black mixed together wash. Just to make that backpack stand out a little bit. what accents will Schick be doing? Oh my.
Be
can only
careful if you
imagine.
challenge him. He might actually sally forth.
He might pull some out. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard him do an accent.
Now, one thing that I think has been really interesting about watching you work on this is that I feel like a lot of people go in really hard with when they're painting something that's quote unquote black, right? They go in really hard with the dark color first and then try to rebuild up to light.
Yeah.
And I feel like my eye is understanding Crosshair as wearing black armor, even though I know you never just took a bunch of like super saturated black, right?
Yeah, there's no black on him.
Yeah.
Even Pro-Cro Cold Black isn't black.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Okay, I know we're out of time. I do have a meeting. But real quick, this is what I'll tell you. It is quite a bit easier for until you are like years of miniature painting, or you're just this is the way your brain thinks. But most people, okay, how am I trying to say this? So, I gotta go. You can turn to this one if you want. Okay, so when you're painting miniature, a lot of people they go online, they read something, it's just like prime it black, paint it this, do this, right? But like what a good trick is, a lot of people think a little different. It's easier to build up because the way you're trying to build light and shadow into a miniature, it's easier to build up the shadow than to build down the highlight, right? And the reason this is easier is you prime something zenithal and then you have black shadows under the arms, here, right, under here, right? You have those natural places and it kind of tells your brain where to build from. So you put that dark shadow, you put like a dark color there, and you blend it out a little bit, or wash it out a little bit, and do another one, and it doesn't come out as far, and suddenly it all makes more sense. It's way easier than going in the center of a mass. So like, say, my noggin, right? The highlight is here, right? It's much easier to try to, it's harder to go out and around a sphere or a tube, right? Every body part is just a different shape. Tube, blob, round, rectangle. It's all just shapes, right? And it's all just thinking about light. So it's easier to just come up with the shadow and just have the light already built in. So that's what's happening here. Is like I'm just reinforcing with a couple glazes, and then I highlight, and then I glaze again and I highlight. I'm just reinforcing all that shadow that's already there and that light that's already there. The volumetric values, if you so will. I'm just reinforcing those with glazes, washes, and highlights. So it's a very easy way to paint. It's a very quick way to paint. It's super quicker for people to learn. So on that note, remember every Tuesday and Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You've heard me say this a million times, and I say it the same time every time without any sort of deviation at all. We hang out here on Twitch, and we do Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. You just watched it, but you should tell everybody else they should watch it. And then for the latest news, information, announcements, I'm going to say the same thing I say every time because it's just the same thing every time. Check us out on Twitter and our Instagram. I should do it different, but I never do it different. It's never like off the cuff or wild or, zany. It's just like, check us out on Twitter and our Instagram. I should get a new bit. So until next week, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
And then we do the outro song. The outro.